All righty, folks. Now that we're down to 4 tables, you all have to speak. And I don't have to walk back and forth. I can just pick and walk in a line, so you guys are first. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate that. All right, folks, we're going to start down here, Mark.
So we talked about lack of standards, lack of coordination and PR campaign and reach and publicity with regards to paper issues. There being a lot of controversy with regards to what needs to be measured, how it's measured, agreeing on the importance of the different measures, overproduction of publishers, which turns into by the publishers or pushed by the publishers, a lot of which just gets trashed. There's not capacity or capability for recycling a lot of that return. Also, if there are resolutions to issues on the floor, actually how to implement different standards, initiatives, understanding how to implement them is an issue. And then obsolescence of parts of the machinery due to the supply chain issues around electronics. So not the mechanical elements, but the electronic elements are suffering.
Okay. Who's my chatterbox? Nobody? Okay. All right. Dirk, who's talking over here? All right, well then I'm going to Alan while you guys figure out who's talking at that table. Otherwise, I get to pick, and none of you want that.
All right, we had a couple of things. I don't know if I got everything written down, but I got a lot of it. Lack of transparency on paper demand, it was a concern. Paper capacity is shrinking. The thought is get it while you can. Unable to cancel orders for paper in the last 2 years, which you used to be able to cancel an order if your book order got canceled. It now leads to you getting paper that you don't necessarily need. Mills owned by private equity firms could flip a switch tomorrow and switch to packaging, and that white paper goes away that you were using. And then your packaging growing at 5% a year while white paper is declining. So it's that's a concern.
Okay. Did you figure it out? Ditto. That's what I hear. Okay. Well, now I got to give you time to try to come up with solutions. I don't think the solutions are you're going to create a new paper mill that only produces book paper when you need it. But let's try to brainstorm something that you guys can tackle. And maybe it is a pivot over to, I know coming out of this table and then folks who grab me in the hall, that sustainability obviously is weaving its way into supply chain more than anything. So maybe some of those solutions that you guys talk about for the next 20 minutes could be sustainability related, or even if you have more questions around that, even if it's, and I'll do this to myself, but are there solutions that BMI should be looking at tackling as the organization, not just what you guys are? So I guess I'll let you talk about what I have to do for the next year in your 20 minutes. So think about solutions you can implement, but also are there something that you can't implement as your company, but maybe organizationally BMI can spearhead or work with other groups, wink, wink, BISG, AAP, other groups that might, tackle it. All right, thanks. All right, folks. We'll get started I'm going to grab a piece of paper because I have a feeling you're going to tell me I have work to do when I get back. It's because I know you guys. So who wants to go first? Anybody? Or do I have nothing to do when I get home? Oh yeah, Dirk's got stuff for me to do. All right. Now that you're prepared, all right. I know this is new. We didn't do this at all before. No, here you go.
All right, everybody took our ideas last time, so that's why we didn't have anything. But we talked about a couple things. It was actually, and Matt, this doesn't all fall on your shoulders, but we talked about, is there a way that BMI could help us facilitate, buying and selling a paper? There's, what's a good resource? We actually had two folks here at the table said, one guy said, I have this paper that I can't, that I need, or I can't, that I don't need. Somebody else is like, well, I'll buy it off you. But is there a way we could create that, maybe it's a paper swap meet or a swap forum or swap board where folks could post paper and buy paper, off of each other? Because we've got a couple paper companies here and they're like, yeah, we're not going to take the paper back. We don't want to take the paper back. That's not our business model. But could we find other alternatives to use it up? We talked about users groups. There's a lot of events out there that tackle things at a very high level. But we talked about, somebody brought up and said, boy, if there was a Canon IX user group, I'd love to get into it and figure it out. So at the specific machine level, are there user groups that, vendors or suppliers could actually help set up? Resource listings. It's getting harder and harder to find resources. And I think all of us are probably going out trying to create our own lists of resources. What would it hurt having a common resource listing? And then the last one we talked about was forums to talk through issues. The pandemic taught us that we all have to partner together and we all have to work together. And our goal, everybody's goal in this room, is to keep books relevant. And we talked about at some point in time, there might be an event that happens or occurs that pushes publishers over the edge to say, I'm done with print. I'm going to go electronic. And we all need to prevent that. So we all need to find a way to be successful. So are there forums that could be created where we could maybe problem solve, whether it be specific automation on a certain piece of equipment? But it's probably in our best interest to work together to solve problems. I don't know that that's collusion.
Absolutely not collusion, as long as you don't put that $ symbol in there. Before I go on to the next one, I will say I have done diligence on a couple of software programs that would integrate into the BMI website that would allow for, we'll just call it forum creation or stuff. So if show of hands, who would get on it and use it? Okay, that's the key, right? I've been, most of you know that my background is not in books, but in association management, and I have implemented these types of things in several organizations in the past, and the key component to them working is people using them. So I'm now holding all of you in the room accountable as champions of the online forum project in order to post and share and work together, okay? Because without that, they won't survive, and then people will go, well, I don't go there because there's no information there, right? It's kind of like the cool new bar, right? It's cool because everybody goes there, right? So I'm holding you all accountable when we do launch this, because it has been on the radar for a while. It's just gotten pushed down as other things have taken over, but I think it's a great first step, and hopefully we'll tackle that. So I'm glad that it came up and it was suggested. So we'll continue to work on that. All right, this table, because you're nearby. Tom, all right.
Building on what was already said, the thing that struck the chord is that the consumer, in this case a book publisher, thinks about copies, the printer thinks about impressions, and the paper company thinks about pounds. And it does speak to, this notion that if there was a trading site of sorts that would collaborate with all three entities and pull the data together into a useful form to give us an outlook and forecast. Because the paper companies are not just trying to manage within the book segment, but we've got direct mail printers, we've got commercial printers, we got the envelope segment. There's a lot of other demands out there for paper, and they all have their own different beat that they dance to. So it's really about solving for the book segment. And even talking amongst this group, we didn't know whether the book segment is 15% of white paper or 30% of white paper. We could all know by adding up the press capacity what it could look like. You could add up sales to get a sense of what it is, but then you got to translate that into paper consumption, right? So it really is the need for Matt, to pull this together with a common entity that could hopefully model this for us, because we've got so many different constituents speaking different languages.
Carlos and Joe, I'm assuming you guys know exactly what he's talking about and what you're going to ask me to do. Okay, good, because those are my board members, and we spoke yesterday, or excuse me, yes, man, it seems like ages ago, at our board meeting on Sunday about. Okay, one of the research things we've talked about as a board is what can we do in terms of quote unquote, for lack of a better term, sizing the market of different things. So that is something that is definitely on the board's radar, and figuring out the exact how-to is a whole nother conundrum, but it's something we definitely want to work on. And good, now Brian's heard it, because we'll ask BISG to be a part of it along with all the other associations who would find that information valuable. Do you guys have anything to add? The quiet table. All right. This side, anybody want to speak? It was all covered? Man, I was thinking that I was going to have, all kinds of things that you guys were going to ask BMI to do. Yeah, all right.
I think the interesting thing about our conversation was that of the several that I've been at since just today and yesterday, there was less solution offering than I think in the other tables. And I don't know if there's any summary from that. And what Matt just summarized here after the first table spoke, I think that it occurs to me that some of these things need leadership. So there's going to be a bunch of people interacting on a, forum. There's got to be somebody who's going to grab the thing by the horns and wrangle it.
Yeah, we get to nominate all the people who left early. They get to do something. But and this is a good segue, Mark. Actually, what you'll see probably in the next month or so that I like to do is a call for volunteers. We try to do it at least once a year, if not twice. But for those who aren't deeply ingrained into the BMI culture at this point, we do have several committees, and one of which is the Marketing and Membership Committee. And I definitely want more members in that, because I lean on that committee to help us find new members and welcome new members as they join. I know, Mark, you probably got a call at least once welcoming you as a new member of the BMI, right? And we have a Manufacturing and Standards Committee, which I'm sure Dirk would love more people to be part of that he can hand the baton off to here shortly. But that tackles MSST and other things that are really specific technical things, right? And if we do launch this kind of forum concept, as I just mentioned a minute ago, I will be tapping shoulders of people to be quote unquote champions of a specific topic or niche or segment of that forum, because again, the value in those things is purely from participation. So you need somebody to really make sure that there is new content or new questions are being asked, or if someone asks a question, they're being answered. And as you all know, you don't want me answering the book manufacturing related questions. That's what you all know about. I just make it all work. You guys have to share your knowledge, and that's, I think, one thing I can say that has been the common thread throughout this particular event. And I mean, we've had, I think, 5 good years of events, right, that I've been a part of that I can reference. But specifically this event, I think one common thread I heard from a lot of first-time attendees and new members and prospective members is, this is just a good group of people. You all are genuinely kind, genuinely like to share information. You like hanging out with each other, and you want the entire industry to succeed, which is a reason that I enjoy working for the BMI and in this industry, because it is collegial and you guys do great work for yourselves, your companies, and each other. And for this to be successful, this particular thing, that would need to continue. And to your point, Mark, yes, there were less solutions in this particular roundtable maybe than the others, but that's because this is probably the question around supply chain that you have the least amount of ability to affect, right? You can't predict what the publishers, how many they're going to print. You can't predict a boat getting stuck in a canal in the southern hemisphere. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. So it is challenging, but I think hopefully we as BMI, the collective we, will continue to offer up solutions and ways to at least foster conversations that happen outside of a couple events a year, to continue that work and hopefully answer things and make things easier in your lives better as members of BMI. I covered it. And scene. No. Anything else anybody wants to add for the good of the order before we wrap it up? Well, I personally just want to say thank you, and I don't know if Mulaney can hear me out there, but thank you to Mulaney. Those of you who've been around for the last couple of years have gotten to meet her as she Todd's going to go grab her if she's not on the phone. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, thanks, Todd. I appreciate that. So, yeah, this is the part where I'm thanking you, Mulaney. So those that don't know, Mulaney and I actually used to work together at my previous association. We both worked for the Direct Marketing Association, and we both saw writing on the wall at that place and left. And but she went out and started her own event management company, and so first thing I did was make sure we got her on board to help me out at these events, because as you know, if I'm in here, I can't be out there. I haven't figured that one out yet. Maybe there'll be a robot that Dr. Dan will figure out. Mulaney's like, no, I need it. No, but I can't do without Mulaney and her staff. So thank you, Mulaney, and all you guys do for us. I'm sure you'll see her again in September and November, because I make her come out to all these things and help us out. So thank you, Mulaney. And I hope you all enjoyed the hotel. I think they did a great job. Our AV staff, the hotel staff, the food was great. So we do thank them. And like I said, you'll get a survey later today. We'll see you in New York City in September. Be on the lookout for State of the Industry report. And I think I've covered just about everything. Joe, did I miss something? Oh, no, you don't. I really appreciate everybody being here, and safe travels home. And don't drink any bourbon on the way out. You know, I don't. Okay.